So welcome to the session today, everybody. This is the Day in the Life series, and this is session number 3. And so far in this series, we've had, this is the 3rd session. We have one more in 2 weeks. And we've really enjoyed getting to know and meet different organizations, different women from organizations within UiPath. So I'm going to turn this over to Sangeeta, who will be hosting today's session.
Awesome. Thank you. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our 3rd session in a Day in the Life series. And today, we'll be focusing on one of the most critical functions in any business, customer success. I'm Sangeeta Ray, and I lead the Women in Automation group at UiPath. And as Dana mentioned, it's my privilege to host today's session. This session and the role in particular is personally very close to my heart because customer success has been a cornerstone of my career for 15 years. And I had the privilege of working both as an individual contributor and leader in CS, supporting Fortune 100, 500 companies across various industries, telco, high-tech, banking, insurance, and so on. And I had the firsthand experience of seeing the incredible opportunities this customer success field offers. And it really has been the dynamic nature of customer success that has kept me engaged, challenged, and deeply passionate about what I do. So very excited to have all of you join the session where we'll take a deep dive into the world of customer success, exploring what a day in the life of a customer success professional truly looks like, the impact they drive, the essential skills that sets them apart, and so much more. So very excited to welcome our amazing panelists who are experts in customer success to share their experience and insights with us. Welcome, Kaitlin and Jenny.
Hi, everyone.
Hi. Awesome. So why don't we start off with a brief introduction? Kaitlin, why don't you go first and tell us a little bit about your role, your tenure at UiPath, and maybe where you're located?
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Kaitlin Auriemma. I am a senior customer success manager here at UiPath. I joined in January of 2022, so I am just shy of about 3 years, based just outside New York City, where we're globally headquartered. And yeah, my role is in our strategic portfolio region, so working with large enterprise clients. And right now, I'm primarily focused on telco and media clients.
Awesome. Jenny, what about you?
Absolutely. So hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining today. My name is Jenny Marshall. I'm a part of the digital customer success team here at UiPath. I joined UiPath back in April of 2022, so I've been here about 2.5 years. I am based out of Washington, D.C. And to give you a brief overview, digital customer success is really about handling all of the customers. How can we reach all customers on a one-to-many basis? So it's kind of a mix of different programs that we run that I can go into more detail about, as well as digitizing content to make it accessible to everyone all over the world.
Awesome. Thanks, Jenny. And while we are doing the introductions, I would absolutely love to keep the session very interactive. So request to the audience, please let us know where you're joining from, which company you work for, and what's your current role. I do see a lot of familiar faces as well, so thanks for joining once again. Let's keep the session interactive, share your comments, send your reactions through chat as well. So Kaitlin, I know you have worn different hats in your career, so tell us a little bit more about your career trajectory, and can you share how exactly you got into customer success?
Yeah, absolutely. So my first role in my career actually was in claims adjusting, insurance claims adjusting, both on the generalist and property side. So my first kind of foray into a B2C environment, but I learned a lot about expectation setting, de-escalating tough situations, and transitioned really over to the tech industry just about 10 years ago. And I actually started in sales. So really enjoyed the aspect of working with customers, the thrill of sales and holding a quota. But then I got a really great opportunity at a SaaS startup employee experience company. And while I was there, because we were growing so fast, there was endless opportunities, which was great because you could really transition where you wanted to and where you might succeed. But I saw an opportunity in our East Coast region for customer success because we didn't have any there. So actually moved over into the customer success organization, which from my perspective was best of both worlds. I got to work with large customers in all different industries, sizes, and still got to kind of have that aspect of helping them, scale their programs and what they were investing in with us. But from there, I got so much experience on the CS side and touching, so many different facets of the company and working with different teams and the product. I actually decided to move back to the sales side on the engineering side because I built this technical edge as well. So there was the seller aspect, the account management aspect, as well as deep diving into the product, which was really exciting to me. So really have worked in a number of different go-to-market roles. And this great opportunity with UiPath came up, and there were so many exciting things happening with the company. And I thought it was a good opportunity to transition back over into the customer success side and work in a kind of larger, more scaled environment.
That's awesome. I can actually see a lot of similarities between your story and my career trajectory as well. I was very privileged to get the chance to wear different hats in my career also. I started as a program manager, then moving to product management, leading transformations, and finally landing into customer success. And like all these roles had been very customer facing and required a lot of cross-functional coordination. And for me, I think the sweet spot was really customer success. I'm an engineer, so very tech savvy, very detail oriented. But my MBA gave me the strategic mindset, which is very invaluable for understanding the big picture. So the CS has really been the sweet spot for me, where I got to leverage both my technical skills and the strategic insights to really drive value for the customers.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. When I was moving back into customer success here at UiPath, when I transitioned from my other company, a lot of people did ask me, like, you're going back to CS? And I said, CS really is the best of everything, right? You're engaging with all these customers, you're helping them grow and scale. You still get to work closely with product and everybody else at the company. So yeah, absolutely.
Jenny, what about you? How did you land into CS? Was it intentionally planned, or did it just happen?
Yeah, absolutely. So a little bit about my career trajectory. My very first job ever, as a lot of people's were, was in retail. So that was when I first started working with customers. And I realized right away that no matter where my career went or what role I was looking for, I wanted that to be at the core of it. I liked the opportunity to help someone, and I just had to figure out how best to do that. From there, I worked in an office role of an industry that most people don't even know exists unless they work on it, which is promotional products. Learned a lot from there and gained a lot of skills. And from there, just like Kaitlin, I went to a startup. And so that was my first official customer success role. Now, I think startups are really interesting, and I think you can learn so much from them. Definitely the drinking out of the water hose, because there's just so much going on. The customer success role at my startup was very interesting because it wasn't just customer success. It was product testing. It was pre-sales engineers. It was all these different roles kind of rolled into the title of customer success, which is very interesting. But it was a very small startup. So I realized that I was looking for a company with more growth, more career potential. And so I moved on to UiPath. And like I said, I've been here 2.5 years, and it's just been a really great opportunity to learn and grow and see how a large CS team can really, really help.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that, Jenny. And it's interesting how you spoke about the CS in your previous startup was a combination of so many different things. Customer success is such a popular career track, and interestingly, for different organizations, it has different meanings. I've seen in some organizations, it's just more of a glorified customer support. In some, it's very renewal and expansion driven. But usually in big enterprise software companies like UiPath, it's usually a very strategic role. So Jenny, tell us a little bit more. You are in digital customer success, which is really picking up a lot these days. And it is very different from the enterprise customer success, which Jenny and I focus on. So could you walk us through your roles and responsibilities and maybe some of your deliverables on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, absolutely. So I completely agree. Digital customer success is very different from the rest of the CS team. While our named CSMs who have specific accounts are working directly with accounts, we are looking at all of the customers as a whole, but specifically also the customers who don't have that named support. So how can they still get resources? How can they still grow and scale from there? So there's been a few iterations of what our team does. And so in the past, we have worked with many accounts at once. And then we kind of moved to a programmatic approach. So that is running webinars, it's running fireside chats, sending out newsletters, hosting roundtables, things like that, where we can have a lot of people all at once be learning the same information. And from there, now we've really honed in and focused more around digital. So one area we work on a lot is our new customer onboarding program. So that's something we run 2 cohorts on a monthly basis around giving the strategy that a customer needs as they're starting at UiPath. We've also digitized that program, so that is now accessible on for UiPathers know the customer portal. Anyone else joining, that's just a website that every customer has access to with a lot of knowledge bases on there. So we have our onboarding program on the customer portal as well, so everyone can get that content now and learn from that. So day-to-day deliverables, definitely we have that onboard. I actually just came from an onboarding call, and I know my colleagues on here too. She just led a terrific session on there. So we have that regularly, but we do still do some of the other events as well. A couple weeks back, I hosted a fireside chat with one of our customers, MongoDB, which was really helpful. And so it's a lot of different things, and we're also working on new initiatives too. So because digital is on the forefront for a lot of people's minds right now, we want to make sure that we're creating new initiatives and doing new programs really so all customers can get support, growth, and help.
Digital is definitely in everybody's mind. I recently attended a couple of industry conferences, and that was the topic, which was really the hardest one.
Yeah.
Because if companies want to scale and grow at a rapid pace, like this is not a choice anymore. They have to go the digital path. So Kaitlin, this is significantly different from how enterprise customer success works. So tell us more about your day-to-day activities, your responsibilities and deliverables.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll say first too, what's great about digital CS is that regardless of, I'll say like the tier of accounts you're working with in client success, the digital CS should really underpin all of it, because all of our clients, regardless of size, can really benefit as they're scaling, their intelligent automation programs and have so many stakeholders. They can all benefit from all of the digital success and support and content that's available. So I'm very grateful that exists now, because I didn't have access to that years ago in CS. But my role on the enterprise side at a high level is really ensuring our customers are realizing the value that they intended to in their intelligent automation programs. So what we do to help them, meet those goals and realize the value that they set out is very regular strategic checkpoints with them from a goal setting perspective, and then tracking to those goals, which really can entail a number of different business benefits that we help them kind of articulate or refine as we're progressing with them. So if it's a capacity returns to the business, employee experience enhancements and benefits, actual savings back, or, revenue increases. So we're really helping impact enterprise level objectives. And the deliverables that come with that really are, what's the success we're seeing at the end of the year? Did you meet your goals? When we're having our business and value alignment reviews with them to include senior stakeholders and executive sponsors, we want to be able to communicate that back to them, the support not only that we've provided, but also, an ability to highlight our customer success and all the work that they're doing.
Absolutely, yeah. And the way is like customer success, right? It's just ensuring the customer is happy and successful. Like they're utilizing our product, they're seeing good adoption, and at the end of their term, they're happy and like eager to renew and even buy more from us.
Yeah, absolutely. We always want to be you know, you want to be the first person that the client thinks of when they want to reach out for help with really anything, because they know that their client success manager really is the person who can reach out to anybody if they need to tag in our sales counterparts, product support, whoever it may be. I shy away from trusted advisor because it's kind of an overused term, but we are, you know, the trusted point of contact for our customers for sure.
So that's a big hat to wear, right? Like so many responsibilities and like delivering that to the customer. So let's talk about some challenges. So what are some of the biggest challenges you face in customer success, and how exactly do you overcome them? Like as with any role, right? Customer success comes with its own set of challenges. It can be managing difficult conversations, dealing with painful customers, dealing with escalations, or even navigating internal processes at times. So, Jenny, tell us, what are some of the biggest challenges you have faced in your, it doesn't have to be at UiPath, it can be outside as well, but what do you think have been some of the biggest challenges you have faced in your customer success career, and how do you typically approach or overcome them?
Yeah, absolutely. So I will say one that's kind of top of mind right now, given what we're doing with digital and digitizing, is finding what would be just right for all customers. So if we're providing this content for every customer, but we know that every customer is at a different level of maturity, figuring out that right start for everyone to access, so it's not too simple for them, but it's also not too complicated that if they're just starting their journey, they're not even interested in it yet. So that's a challenge we're actively tackling right now. And I would say the best way to handle that is using the team that we have. So because we've worked with customers directly in the past, we're able to use our past experiences to know what resonates with them the most, what they're most interested in, and what they learn the most from. And also, I will just give a shout out to our extended team as well. We at UiPath, we do have a great extended team. So any product specialists or just other teams that are working on other aspects are always really good to reach out to and give you a good perspective to make sure that you are providing the best value.
Awesome. Kaitlin, what about you? What comes to your mind?
I would say from my perspective, you know, there's a lot of things out of our control. You can do a great job when, you know, you can manage the things that are in your control, like your responsiveness to a customer, the empathy you show them and everything. But there's things like from a macroeconomic perspective that are out of our control, which, you know, especially in recent years, there's been a lot of stakeholder changes in the different programs and clients that we support, just because of organizational changes. And when something like that happens, you have to reset really entirely on the relationship. You have to re-articulate the benefits and the value, support the remaining client team members who are there and help them get, you know, acclimated and look great to new, let's say, executive stakeholders or sponsors. And so while that's a challenge, it's definitely something that you can also anticipate at some point, just because of how fast the world changes every day. So, you know, I think that's definitely been a challenge in the past few years. I'd also say just in general, depending on, you know, what the size of your portfolio is and the clients that you manage, you know, you have to be able to really prioritize what, you know, what you're responding to first, what action items you're tackling first, because there's, you know, always going to be a couple of fire drills that are, you know, something needs to get put on the back burner, something needs to get brought to the front. And with that, I would just say, you know, for any, you know, tough customers, like we say, the ones who are a little bit higher maintenance, I think just approaching them with empathy and understanding. Typically, if a customer is coming in hot, it's because something is rolling downhill for them. And so I think just getting to the bottom of where that urgency is with them, you know, where it's coming from, why it's happening, understanding that, showing empathy, and then coming up with a solution that will work for them is a good way to tackle that.
Absolutely. I actually have also found that when I was earlier in my career, I really used to tackle my customers as, yes, I have to say yes to them. I have to really agree to whatever they propose. But over a period of time, I have discovered that saying no to them is actually okay. Challenging them on decisions and saying that they're wrong is actually a very great way to earn respect from them too. Unless and until we have a strong POV and push back on them, they have limited things to learn. So it's totally okay to have those tough conversations and push back on the customers too. It's challenging, but it really helps in the long run.
Yeah, I think when you've built trust and you have credibility and you come in with confidence with those types of conversations, it makes all the difference. And also, I think something you learn, I don't know, where people are in their careers on this call, but when you're earlier in your career, sometimes that, saying yes to everything is the mindset. And also just saying like, yeah, I can get that for you tomorrow. You learn over time also to say like, yes, we can get that done for you in a week, not 2 hours. So even just time-bound expectation setting and management makes a big difference to customers and like keeping your promises.
Absolutely. While we're talking about challenges, I actually would love to know from the audience if they could put in the chat some of the challenges they face in their current roles, whether it's CS or other parts of the organization. Would love to see some engagement on the chat. Awesome. So talking about customer success, like customer success is an ever-evolving role, especially with the advancements in AI and automation. So Jenny and Kaitlin, how have you seen the role of CS change over the years? And specifically, how are AI and automation shaping the way you as a CS engage with the customers? I would also love to know what excites you and what keeps you up with these changes.
I can take that. I think we start, actually, Jenny and I both touched on this point. The way that I look at the evolution of CS is, where I've seen it change the most is there's different types of customer success depending on what type of company it is, what stage they're at. So, we both worked at startups. The role of a customer success manager at a startup, you have an opportunity to learn everything from the product side, support side, DevOps, like everything really. And then when you go to a company that's more scaled like UiPath, it does become more of a, it's a scaled organization. It's more of a strategic mindset. You're doing a lot more, account management type activities and helping customers scale, versus just wearing every single hat that you can and putting out fires when you're at a startup in the startup CS role. So I think there's the evolution there that probably just still exists within startups versus scaled organizations. And then I'll let Jenny speak more to it, but the evolution of digital CS is something that's excited me so much over the years. I had an opportunity at the previous company I worked for to help build our customer community site that had all the digital content, webinars, enablement. And it just, the ability for the CSMs to shift over into the more really like meaningful conversations versus just like general Q&A or support management with customers made a huge change to the customer experience and relationship with CSMs. Them having that on-demand content available to them. So that's something that's been exciting and super important change, I think. And then just specific to AI and automation, the ability to like have automated communications and updates for customers and, targeted and pushed content to them based on the stage of the customer lifecycle or journey they're in, I think has made a huge difference too, because our customers are more informed. They're ready to have conversations about emerging capabilities that are exciting to them. They're ready to talk about how it could help them solve like, emergent business challenges that they have. So all of those things have been super impactful and exciting to me, and I'm looking forward to seeing how they continue to grow.
Awesome. Completely agree with all of that. Jenny, what about you? Anything you would like to say?
Yeah, absolutely. So totally agree with what Kaitlin was saying. I feel like coming from digital success, it is really ramping up and growing exponentially right now. So I think that's really exciting. It's something that maybe a few years ago you wouldn't have heard as much about, but it is definitely on the forefront. So that's something that definitely gets me excited about that. When it comes to AI and just working with the role, I think like the automated notes and the summary of the meetings are something that's really, really helpful. I think when meeting, whether it be with customers or internally, you really want to make sure that you're focusing on the conversation at hand. So if you're busy with taking notes the whole time, it may feel disconnected, and you also may be missing some aspects of it. So I think there's a lot of great AI tools that are out there and still coming out that will really just like help our jobs as a whole, and make it easier. And so we can really focus on the things that we do best. So I think that even just Gen AI and learning, having that compile information and learning about different companies and things like that can be really helpful, as well as like translation tools, because there's a lot coming up with that as well.
Absolutely. AI is, I know it might feel like AI fatigue, but then no conversation goes without for 5 minutes without talking about AI. But it's really exciting how much easier it is making our lives, like meeting notes, as you talked about. And whenever we go to a new customer, it's so easy to research about what their priorities are, what their goals are, how exactly we should be coaching them. It becomes so easy to research them. Talking about trends, some of the trends I'm seeing with the AI and the automation are definitely the predictive analytics. Instead of getting reactive response to the customers, predicting the risk and recommending the next best course of action is becoming very prominent in customer success world too. And another thing I'm really seeing across the industry over other organizations is customer success, instead of being a cost center, is expected to be more supportive of generating revenue. So the whole being a part of the go-to-market and really driving revenue, generating revenue, and become a profit center rather than a cost center is also becoming very, very common these days across organizations. Another trend I actually have seen with the AI is the roles are merging. I expect the customer success roles to be very different 5 years from now, based on what it is now versus 5 years from now. Many organizations are actually merging the roles and responsibilities as well. So I definitely see that evolving over a period of time too. We'd love to hear from the audience as well, if anybody. I'm reading through the challenges. I'm seeing some of the challenges the audience talked about. Executive engagement, consistent touch point, absolutely very common challenges we encounter. Work-life balance, yes, Tracy, for sure. At times we have way too much on our plates to handle. So prioritizing becomes a challenge for sure. So we will be taking live questions at the end of the session as well. So we have 15 minutes totally blocked for the live questions from the audience here. In the meantime, I would like to know from both of you. Now, customer success is about building lasting relationships with customer and ensuring that we achieve maximum value from a product or the service. And it takes different kind of skills, the strategic thinking, the problem solving, the proactive support, and all that stuff to make sure that we're creating a win-win solution which benefits both the customer and the organization. So on that aspect, Kaitlin, what skills or knowledge do you find most important for our job as a CS, and how do you develop them?
Yeah, I think what's important if you're considering a career in customer success, or if you're in the role, I think what makes you most successful is just a genuine curiosity about one, the platform that you're working with. So does it, are you excited about it? I think understanding fully, like, what is the value proposition of the platform you're working with that your customers are investing in to help solve business problems? Like, does that, get you really excited to talk to them about it? And then taking the time to actually learn about it so that you can articulate all of that to them. And then I also think, just leaning into the tools. We've talked about some of them with the AI capabilities that you mentioned, but being able to lean into tools and emerging technology that are going to help you best prepare for knowledge about your customer Sangeeta, you mentioned it about like, you know, looking into their enterprise objectives beforehand, their 10Ks, whatever it may be, to do as much research as possible. So having the curiosity, not only about the company you're working for, but then the clients you're supporting, and being able to actually take time to learn that about them. Yeah, and I think just being able to understand how to set goals with them too is a really important skill. So that strategic mindset that you mentioned, if you understand how, you know, what their business problems are, if they're not able to, you know, articulate the goals maybe that they have in mind, or things have changed, being able to help them actually do that so that you can build a plan with them to actually realize those is super important. And along with that is just general, you know, time management, project management, program management skills, hyper important, I'd say. Just because you are juggling a lot between your different clients, the context shift is very real between client to client meetings and conversations. So being able to juggle that and really sharpen that skill of the context shift ability, I think is important too.
Absolutely. I'll just add another thing. I think communication overline, it actually underlines everything you spoke about as well. Communication skill is so important, because as a customer success, it's all about that cross-functional collaboration with internal teams, building the strong relationships with the customers. So that relationship building and communication goes such a long way. The being persuasive, being good in negotiation, and all that element. Jenny, what would you like to add?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like we could create a really long list, because there's a lot of skills that are really important. But if I had to kind of narrow it down to 3, I would say presentation skills, listening, and organization. So kind of in the vein of communication, like you want to make sure that your presentation skills are really top notch, because you need to be getting the point across that you're trying to achieve. And with that, I feel like practice is really just the best way to hone that skill. But just making sure that it's clear what you're trying to say. You're still able to speak in your own natural tone, and just have it be a really smooth, so you can have the end result of what you want, of the people on the call understanding what you're saying, maybe even convincing them of a certain point. In regards to listening, that's my number one always, is just like make sure that you're listening, especially when it's with the customer, right? Because I feel like so many people have the tendency to hear someone start to say something and then try and fill in the rest of their sentence, or solve the problem they're saying immediately. And sometimes that's not the real problem, that you need to do some questions, you need to learn more to get to that root cause. So I think listening is really important. And a lot of times when people are just trying to say something, it's because no one else has listened to them yet at that point. So really just getting to that and making sure that you're paying attention to them, you're brainstorming with them, you're asking them the right questions so they can feel heard as well. And the last one I mentioned is organization. I think that ties exactly into what Kaitlin was saying around program and project management. Because we're wearing so many hats, or so many irons in the fire, we really need to make sure that we're organized, whether it be setting an agenda for a customer call, or if you're running, say, a roundtable, make sure you have all the steps that you need before, during, and after. Making sure you have the KPIs, what metrics are you tracking, things like that. In all these different aspects, I think organization is just really, really key.
Absolutely. We talked about a lot of skills, and they all are so critical in all roles, and specifically in customer success for sure. Another very common theme in customer success is the cross-functional collaboration play, right? We really talk not only with the customers, but the various internal teams all the time as well. And so I would love to know, actually, how does that look? Like, how do you navigate those internal partnerships, and what role does the cross-functional collaboration play work out for the customer success?
Yeah, I think for the area that I work in, I work very closely with the account teams that support the clients I work with. So there's typically, like, you know, about 3 to 4 core account team members. And in collaborating with those team members, the first thing I consider is like, what are their goals? What are they trying to accomplish in their role and with the customer, so that I can understand, you know, what's motivating them and what's driving them, and then how we can both best work together. Having regular checkpoints, also just, I mean, one-on-one, you know, relationships with different team members that you're working closely with, I think is important. Not just only asking people for things, you need to be able to be giving back to and supporting them as well. Because oftentimes in CS, we're asking for a lot for people, because we're trying to get things done for the customer, but we have to be able to support them as well. So even if it's stepping in for, you know, one of my technical account manager counterparts, because they're, you know, unexpectedly can't join a call and I need to, you know, update a customer or something to that effect, right? And then the other thing I would say with the other cross-functional collaboration that we have, if it's product or marketing or whoever, I think it's really goes back to the communication skills. So if you're coming with a request or an idea for that with that team, it's super important to articulate the why behind it. You have to help them understand, like, who is the customer, right? Give them a high level overview of who they are, why they're super important, and then why this thing that, you know, you're talking to the other team about, why it's really important to that customer and for us as UiPath or whatever company it is that you're in CS. So yeah, I think just generally being like I said, it's not just always about like work, and what are you doing for me now? It's also, you need to be giving back a lot. I really strongly believe in that.
Absolutely. And at times it's about agreeing to disagree. Like there would be situations where we might have conflicting priorities as compared to our team, but and we might have different opinions, and it just has to work out for sure. Jen, anything you would want to add?
Yeah, absolutely. So we work with a lot of different teams. We've worked with the customer portal team, as that's a area of focus right now. Definitely worked with marketing on promoting different events that we held and things like that. But we also work globally, and this is something we're continuing to work on with the general sales and CS teams, because a lot of our initiatives right now are new or on the newer side of things, and they're great, and like we said, they're for all customers. But if our account teams don't know about them, how can they promote them to the customers we have already? So that's something we're definitely looking into and increasing further, is that conversation around, okay, here's what we've done, here's what you can share with your customer, here's how it can help them, so that we make sure everyone is aware of it, so we can really help with the evangelism there.
Absolutely, for sure. I'm seeing some very interesting questions in the chat. We have a question from Andrea. What questions do you use to qualify or disqualify a customer request? I think it goes back to the commentary you were having earlier about it's okay to say no to the customer or ask for more time. So anything you would want to add, Kaitlin or Jenny, on that?
Yeah, so I'm a big believer in, like, you know, the give get mindset. So if a customer is asking for something, like I always will ask why for some context if they haven't provided it. Oftentimes they will, but if they've asked for something without context, I'm gonna ask questions, or even just hop on the call, give them a call and say, you know, why are you asking for that, or what's going on, what's causing the urgency. And I'm very honest with them too, you know, and saying, in order for me to do this, I need to understand that to complete the request, whatever it may be. So yeah, I would, you know, I very rarely say just hard no on things. But maybe it's that I can't do that right now, or again, asking them why, or even I will say, if it's a question, I'm a big believer in, if it's a question where I know there's digital CS and content that can support it, I'm going to point them to that. I'm not going to recreate the wheel. I'm going to say, hey, our documentation is here and you can find that. Or please, you know, submit a support ticket so that we can properly incident manage. So I think it's asking questions to qualify. You have to ask some good discovery questions, if you will, and then making a good judgment call.
Absolutely. Anything, Jenny, you would want to add?
I think she nailed that answer.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Like, I think that the why and how, those questions are so important. And if we have data set, I have been in multiple situations where I had to say no to the customer. And if I have data set that why they should not be approaching that request or why it's not a good idea for them to proceed with, it always is easier and impactful when we get back to the customer. So another question we have is, would love to get your thoughts on what you think customers lean most on for customer success, for value add, and how has that evolved from the past? Onboarding, success plans, implementation, escalations, etc.
From my perspective, again, it's so variable based on like what company that you're at CS, but I'll use my UiPath experience. I think the client is leaning on us in the enterprise space, at least for, they're asking for our opinions on, other customer context. So when we're building success plans with them and setting goals, they want to know a lot about what our other customers are doing. We have access to a plethora of success stories with our thousands and thousands of customers, and they know that we have access to that. So they want to know, is this what other customers are doing? How fast are they moving? What types of, numbers are they setting for goals? So they're leaning heavily on us to do that. And I think, even though we are absolutely supporting revenue growth, we are seen as the non-sellers, if you will. So they're trusting us to give them kind of a, I'll say like an objective opinion about certain things without the intention of necessarily upselling them. So yeah, I think that's one of the biggest things I've seen them lean on us for.
Absolutely. That's very something I've seen very consistently across my customers as well. What's going in the industry, what AI solutions other customers are using, how much have they saved, so on. And also, I think everybody has become more cost sensitive now. So every customer of ours they have to show high ROI for the investment they have made in us. So they are looking for that kind of support as well. And value can mean different things for our customers. For them, it is just staying ahead of the AI race. So it might just mean the number of AI solutions they have deployed. For some, it might be the number of business units they have deployed AI to. For some, it might be the actual hardcore cost savings. So they are definitely looking for help from customer success and helping them identify the ROI on the software too. So, and the next question is actually on AI. So Nina Mehta, thanks for your question. She says, so good to hear about digital success and AI use cases. What UiPath products do you use for being effective as a CSM? For example, Automation Hub, etc.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jenny. You go first because
okay. So as far as like our UiPath products, one that comes to mind, it's a little basic, but it's Studio. So we actually have someone on our team who has been a developer in the past. He was actually a UiPath customer and then came over to UiPath from there. And so he's actually been able to develop an automation for me yesterday that saved a bunch of time in sending out emails, because we're reaching out to so many people at once. That's something that we have a few different automations built around that, and it saves a lot of time, so it can just run on the computer in the background, things like that. But he built one specifically for a series of follow-up emails that now it's all set up that it's just plug and play from there. So that's one area that I've seen a lot of use and a lot of help in. Definitely some Automation Hub for some ideas that we have as well for the company as a whole. I also see a huge potential for communications mining as well. This is something we haven't started yet, but I see a lot of potential for, because as like a shared inbox that gets a lot of emails, especially when we're like inviting a lot of people out and we get a mix of vacation responses, no longer at the companies, bounce back for some reason. I think there's a lot of potential there to sort and make sure that our contact list is as neat as possible to make sure we're targeting the right people. So those are some areas that we're using currently and where we want to go in the future.
What is your favorite, Kaitlin? Jenny, you talked about a lot of stuff. It's very
Yeah.
interesting to see you and the team using a lot of UiPath features in your day-to-day work.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I'm very impressed. This is still in preview, but we're lucky that internally we get access to it, but I've used autopilot quite a bit. It's incredible the ability to have something that's integrated to all the different many of the applications that we use in CS to gather intel on a client. I've even used it to help build agendas. Like, hey, I'm meeting with a VP of customer experience, build me an agenda that would be really interesting to him at XYZ company. Really, really great feedback on that, and saves me a lot of time. Also crafting, emails and pulling some information on customer data to do so. And also so for running an automation program assessment, we're using UiPath apps to actually complete the assessment and then automatically generate a PowerPoint to deliver them an actionable plan for their program, which is awesome because then I have this pre-built piece of content that I can then take and tailor. It saves me hours and hours and hours of time. I can take it and tailor it to the customer very specifically.
Absolutely. Autopilot and apps are my favorite as well. And like it really saves so much of time and increases our efficiency significantly. We have another question from Melissa. How do you define success for your customers and what metrics do you use to measure it?
So yeah, I will say it varies from customer to customer. All of them, because I work with essentially the same industry, there's a lot of similarities among how they're measuring success in telco, but oftentimes it's department specific. At a very high level though, the way that we're typically communicating success is estimated hours saved or capacity returns back to the business. That's at a more like granular level. Generally though, like what I mentioned before is, are you actually realizing value from this? So there's a lot of great data and intel you can gather from estimations, but I measure the success, excuse me, of a client as if they're really collaborating closely with their business stakeholders and partners to understand how, what they're building and delivering through their intelligent automation program, how are their business counterparts and stakeholders actually realizing those benefits? Do they have less turnover, faster onboarding times, better NPS scores with customers? So there's a lot of really great APIs that we use under, larger pillars of success with the customers.
Yeah, that's very aligned with what I've seen as well, Melissa. So usually I've seen that customers either have KPIs, and KPIs, as Kaitlin was mentioning, it could be cost savings, hour saving, it could be improvement in accuracy, it could be the turnaround time, SLA adherement, CSAT improvement, NPS improvement, stuff like that, which are actually quantitative numbers. And then some of the customers, they don't actually care about value that much. They're more focused on the number of users, the number of business units, the number of solutions they have deployed. So to define success, it can be very different from customer to customer. And it's very important to know what is important to them so that we can accordingly work with them to make that happen. Anything from your end, Jenny?
Yeah, I'd say from our perspective, it's a little different. We're more focused on, how many interactions have we had with customers? So when we have webinars, events, things like that, what's the registration numbers and things like that. And also because we're working so much on digitizing content inside of customer portal, making sure they have that activation, making sure they're on there. And so successful kind of interaction. So it's a little bit different, but that's it in a nutshell, I'd say.
Awesome. I actually have another question. So you can think of one of the challenges we encounter as a customer success manager. We have to be proactive. We can't essentially afford to be reactive, but then last minute things do come up which need immediate attention. So my question is, how do you balance being proactive versus reactive when it comes to managing customer needs and expectations?
From my perspective, I think on the best way to be proactive is making sure you're sharing information with a customer before like they hear about it or have to ask about it. So meaning if there's emerging capabilities or solutions that our team has put together, you have to really stay on top of that in order for you to be proactive with a customer. So you have to know what's going on at, UiPath or whatever company you're working for, so that you can actually like start kind of ideating for your customers and then sharing it with them. And getting ahead of that versus them saying, oh my gosh, we have this goal and it has to be met by the end of the year and we have no idea how to solution it and we only have 3 months or something, right? Not uncommon. So yeah, I think a big part of being proactive is just making sure you're keeping a sharp kind of a sharp watch on everything that's emerging at the company. And sometimes you're always going to run into things that have to be reactive. Like if there's an incident management, I think with that, it's all about looping in the right people to support. I'm not a support engineer. I can't answer those types of questions, but I absolutely know who to go to make things happen. So yeah, I think you just need to be prepared to know how to handle those situations as well.
And then just distilling what is important versus immediate, right? Like there's some things which are very important to address, but it can maybe wait a little bit till you address the other immediate things.
Yeah, I would say, there's always going to be those reactive things, right? But what's really important to do is when that happens, after it's solved, you take a look at it and you say, okay, what could we have done differently so it wouldn't have been reactive? What can we do proactively with other customers going forward that would make this issue never even come up? So I think just kind of questioning that and figuring out alternatives. Okay, should I have asked this earlier? Make sure they're informed on this aspect. Things like that can just help you in the future.
Absolutely. So to wrap things up, I know we just have approximately 5 minutes more. So to wrap things up, I would love for each of you, Kaitlin and Jenny, to offer one piece of advice to anybody who is considered a career in customer success. What's something you wish you had known when you started, or maybe a key takeaway you would want to share with someone aspiring to really succeed in this field?
Go ahead, Jenny.
Okay.
I come off mute.
So one thing I really like about CS is you can't go to school for customer success. I really think that's a great thing. So our colleagues here, like I went to school for mathematics. There's people who went to school for econ or computer science or marketing or management. I think because of that, we all bring a different perspective to the role, and we all have our strengths and our weaknesses, and we can work together to help around that. So I think that's really, really cool. And I also think that means that anyone can, when they're ready to enter to the workforce, anyone can essentially join customer success. And I think that's awesome to get those different perspectives. There's a lot of advice. I mean, one thing I would say that I kind of like scoffed at when I was younger, but I think is really important is the networking aspect around it. So as you're, get a mentor, meet with other people in the role, in other teams and adjacent teams, and really build those relationships, learn from others. There's books, there's podcasts, there's like a lot of different ways that you can hone in your skills and improve. And I think just having a strong support team and people you can learn and grow from are really key in that. So that would be my piece of advice that I would give to anyone, and that also like maybe I didn't take originally.
Awesome.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that last part. Super important, depending where you are in your career. Again, if you're early career, like take all the networking opportunities you can. If somebody offers to introduce you to somebody or recommends you to introduce yourself to someone, like, do it. I would say for anybody who's looking to build a career in CS or is aspiring to get into it, don't wait. Just start looking and start networking, start looking at open positions. There's customer success at all different types of companies that have, different scopes in certain situations. I think generally just think, if you're thinking about whether you'll like it or not, consider, do you like hunting or harvesting? I say a lot, if you're a hunter, the sell side might be really great for you. If you like to harvest and account manage and then support sellers with incremental growth on accounts, CS is a great place to be. And great place to build relationships with customers. And something that I wish I had done, earlier, and maybe that wasn't available like 10 plus years ago, was joining more external CS networking groups where there's like-minded people who are facing similar challenges or have similar goals. Because there's a lot of them out there now. Jenny mentioned some of the like thought leadership that's available in LinkedIn and other platforms. Take a look through all of that and connect with people and learn from it.
Absolutely. I completely agree with everything you guys all mentioned. And then the networking, asking for help when needed. At times, I feel we expect CSMs to be the super woman or man, and we expect that we'll handle it all. But it's totally okay to ask for help and engage with the bigger village we have. We have one more last question, which we can take from Deborah. What do you like most about working for UiPath? It's actually one of my favorite questions, but Jenny and Kaitlin, you guys go ahead.
It's hard to narrow it down. A lot of answers come to mind, but I'd say in general, the people. I think we have our UiPath values, and I think it's really incredible that everyone really stands by those. And I feel like it's a very supportive system where we all, like, I have talked to both Kaitlin and Sangeeta many times, and I feel that way about especially our smaller org, but then our UiPath team as a whole. I would say that's my favorite part.
Yeah, I would agree. UiPath does a great job of hiring. A big part of when they're hiring is the culture assessment. Like, are you going to fit in with do you align to our values? From a value perspective, because we really do so very much live the values that are on paper, that you can see on our website. The humility part of it was a really big part of why I joined UiPath. I love that it's a bold, bold path forward that we're forging, and also super innovative company, but also at the same time, everybody that works here is very humble. There's no level snobbery. You can reach out to anybody that you need to support your customers and support yourself. And people from all facets, technical, strategic, leadership, whatever it may be, are very accessible, which I love.
Deborah, I would actually completely agree too. If I have to say it in 2 words, product and people, these were the 2 things which really attracted me to UiPath. The culture and the innovation the product brings is super awesome. So I know we are at the end of the hour. So thank you once again. Thank you, Jenny and Kaitlin, and for sharing your experiences and insights, and to all the audience for joining us and taking your time from your schedules to join this discussion. So I think just to summarize, right, for anyone interested in pursuing career in CS, it's all about building relationships, staying proactive, and constantly evolving with the customer needs. So keep these takeaways in mind as you explore opportunities in this field. Thank you once again for joining, and stay tuned for our next session in the series, where we'll be spotlighting sales and pre-sales, another very essential part of organizations. Until then, thank you and take care.